This is What Do You Bring to the Table, a non-profit project made by youth for youth that aims to explore the many career paths available within our Canadian food systems. By interviewing industry leaders across the country, we get a first-hand look at the various existing and emerging agri-food career opportunities with a particular focus on equity and sustainability. We want to thank the Gay Lea Foundation for their generosity in supporting this project, as well as the Catherine Maxwell Meighen Foundation and the Peterborough K.M. Charitable Foundation. Please visit our website youthandfoodsystems.ca and sign up for our free monthly e-newsletter to stay involved. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Links to those are on our website. If you like what we're doing, please drop a like, review, or comment. Or, if you have the means to, contribute with a monetary donation through our website. Thanks for listening!
This is episode 9, Daniella and Thompson.
Hello, Thompson. This is Daniella, and I appreciate you taking your time to sit with me for this interview. I'm a volunteer interviewer for Youth and Food Systems, a project within Seeds of Diversity, which is part of a larger Waterloo regional school of food learning. I'm thrilled to have this opportunity to get to know you better. Shall we start with the question?
Sure, yeah, please.
Okay, first question is, can you introduce yourself for us, please?
So I'm Chef Thompson Tran. I've been here in the Waterloo region for about 6 years. I'm originally from British Columbia. Trained chef in French. I've worked in British Columbia, Ontario as a chef for the last 20 plus years. I was also an educator, so a high school educator, taught music, culinary arts, home ec, and that was starting around 2006. And so I've done both occupations, chefing as well as educator. And then when I moved here in 2017, we opened up the Wood and Load Food Company, which is now a commissary. So a lot of food entrepreneurs come here, they rent from us. They might spend a day, they might be here for 4 days a week producing a local product. So it could be everything from Lucky Bug Farms, which is a Leah Fraser, and she is a farmer, 1 acre farm. It's all organic, all biodiverse, and she pickles. She packages her grown products for retail at the markets, at her own market, as well as here at the Wood and Load Food Company for pickup. We also have Chef Eduardo, who makes Mexican food, tacos. He's the lord of the tacos. We also have Rochelle Williams, who is the dessert artist, so she makes everything from scratch as well. Really high quality pastries and baked goods. We also have Casey from Nibble and Nosh. There's 3 other people, and we all share a kitchen space here, very professional. It is regionally inspected. I also make dipping sauce called Nuoc Cham. See guys? See? Nobody's watching us. Nuoc Cham, so it's a Vietnamese dipping sauce. So if you go for Vietnamese food, it all is that dipping, magical elixir you get when you have like rice and noodles and barbecue meats. Yeah. That's in a nutshell. I got a lot more things going on.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Okay. Our second question would tell us about your culinary education and training, which you just mentioned a little bit. You just go to that.
Sure, yeah, I can dive in a little bit deeper. So I started cooking when I was 14. My family owned a Vietnamese restaurant called Wang Vietnamese Cuisine in British Columbia. It was a mom and pop. You know, we knew very little about the industry. We were just starting, and so I was the dishwasher, the prepper. I was also the busboy. I did a great job at all 3 jobs. I grew very quickly with my family. Every single job that I've ever had, really outside of high school, was in the food industry, especially once I got into university and college at Douglas College. I studied actually music at Douglas College at UBC, graduating with a performance degree in classical guitar. Like I mentioned, I worked at a bagel shop, I worked at a bar, I worked at the arts club, backstage lounge, and those for me, I would consider hands-on education. That's training on the job. I went to PCAP, Pacific Institute of Culinary Arts in Granville Island in Vancouver, and that's where I did my formal culinary arts degree. Outside of working, I had already worked for 10 years as a cook, as a prep cook, and very kind of simple foods, bar foods, and got the opportunity to finally make that transition over. And I really wanted to officiate something to say that, hey, this guy, Thompson Tran, isn't just a cook, but he's a trained cook. And obviously a chef is someone who leads a team of cooks. And so I am now a chef after so many years of working.
Our third question is, when did you decide to become a chef?
I get that question all the time, and I've always loved food. I've always loved being hands-on. So, being as a creative musician, I always loved the arts as well, and I believe that that's right in the name, culinary arts. And so I've always been an artistic person. So when I was kind of 15, 16, I really loved it. I had a choice between music or culinary arts. I decided to go music route first, and I just ended up going into the culinary arts anyways. So I would say around 16 was when I decided to study music, and then it just kind of naturally progressed as I kept working and enjoying and learning a lot more with food. When I was teaching in 2005-06, I decided to switch over from music education to culinary arts education, and then I started teaching that instead. And to dive a little bit deeper, so no, I don't believe that a lot of chefs decide to be a chef, and really at the end of the day, it's usually a means to an end. Like we gotta make money, we gotta pay the rent. So what do? We go cook. We do a day job, 40 hours a week or whatever it is to start, and then we end up falling in love with it. And I love the industry. I really do love the food and beverage, hospitality industry.
My other question that I kind of just thought of right now is like, what do you think there's any parallels between music and the hospitality, community beverage industry? Do you think they were both passions of yours at such a young age and then kind of just followed them both?
Like I was saying, so music, drama, arts, they're all part of this world of art and culture. Food, especially now, we're really realizing the importance of food in everyday life, in food nutrition, food health, even looking at it as an art form. People travel around the world, they'll come to Cambridge instead of Toronto because of Langdon Hall, or they might go to Toronto instead of Montreal because there's a particular chef that's doing something amazing or unique. And so I believe that now food is just as important. It's always been as important to culture, to arts, to community. Local cafe is where you might go and meet your grandma, or you might meet, or you might have a writer meet an actor, and that's the importance of food. Outside of, again, our physiological needs, which means we need our basic food, water to survive. And so I think food transcends much past those physiological needs. I love it. It's an art form. And you can be as creative, as simple, as delicious as you want, depending on what you gravitate towards.
Our fifth one is, how do you maintain your love of cooking after working such long hours?
That's awesome, right? Like any other job, if you're hitting plateaus all the time, so every time I go up a step and I stay there, there's a lot more steps, that. So it's my decision whether or not I want to get bored and complacent, stay there, and eventually hate it. I don't want to go to work, whatever it is. So every single time that I get to a plateau, I decide that I want to learn something. For example, I don't know anything about African food. We just had a moment here just talking about Ghana and how, and what was it again? It's fufu, right? And I've never eaten that. I've eaten maize, I've eaten cassava, but in different forms. So, I just learned something from you. And so what I'll probably end up doing is going home, looking up recipes, saying, hey, this is the way we make it in Vietnam. How do they do it in Africa? Or in Ghana? It's everyone's responsibility, right? It's not your responsibility to be, hey, Thompson, hey, Chef Thompson. Let me make you more interested in food. It's all a personal choice. And I always go to the next step. So once I've learned something, I go to the next step. I'm always constantly learning from my students, learning from other chefs, other colleagues as well.
What was your proudest moment as a chef?
So one of my student proteges from 13 years ago or so, he's working in Vancouver as a chef de cuisine. That means the chef that's in the kitchen. He is the expediter, so he runs the line. He translates and communicates from the kitchen, back of house, to the front of house, to the servers and the hospitality of the food and hospitality industry. He and his two chefs who are up above him just got awarded a Michelin star.
Wow.
And so a Michelin star, if anyone's not familiar with, is considered one of the highest praises for the profession. And so there are only 100 something Michelin stars around the world, and Toronto only has a handful, same with Vancouver. And so he works at Boulevard, which is a restaurant that just received their first Michelin star. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, when the student surpasses the teacher. That's it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Seventh question is, how do you incorporate sustainability and eco-consciousness into your life?
So it has to be a conscious decision. It originally started as me just asking the questions. Like, well, why do we do it this way and not this way? Why are we, for example, wasting all that water when we can actually circulate it and use it for watering the plants? Or, you know what I mean? So it all started out small, kind of really questioning, not because I wanted to pick out faults. It started out as me being really kind of inquisitive, and just like kids. I'm a big kid. So I'm always trying to figure out the whys rather than the whats and the hows. It's really kind of, why are we doing this? Why are we using so much saran wrap? Are there alternative ways? And they started out that, and then I made the conscious decision with my sous chef 6 years ago to just cut out saran wrap, cut out parchment paper, cut out tin foil. We went from maybe 4 garbage bags a month to 6 garbage bags a month down to 1. And our composting went up, but we also then every single day and every single decision was, can we do it better? And most of the time when we say do it better, it often means sustainability. It all started with that conversation, and then I would send emails to friends. And to be honest, actually to bounce back a little bit more, there was little inklings of interest in sustainability when I started working at Bishop's, and that was a fine dining restaurant in Vancouver, considered the top 1 to top 3 restaurants in Vancouver during its day. It was all local food. Everything was done from scratch. The highest quality of service, so it encapsulated all of that. And that included sustainability. Because we were ordering in season, we were ordering only Oceanwise seafood. And Oceanwise is a non-profit organization that helps educate the consumer. And basically the way they educate is to provide data to say, hey, this is actually an unsustainable seafood source versus a sustainable seafood source. And then they empower the consumer, that's us, to choose between the two. So as a restaurant, we always chose a sustainable version, always.
Our 8th question is, can you tell us how your creativity correlates with your sustainability?
Essentially, I'm a out-of-the-box thinker. I don't do anything the same way than other people, and I think that a lot of people are again, it's me looking at the systems that are in place, and they're broken. So we need to offer alternatives to the system that is considered broken. So for example, a restaurant that's undercharging for a bowl of soup doesn't make sense, because they're sacrificing the health of their family or the health of their business just to get people in the door, and that people undervalue the true cost of food and the true cost of labor, and it's inevitable that we end up treating our employees poorly because we're trying to make more money in our pockets by giving cheaper prices to customers. So things like that, it's broken, and I think education is the root of everything. So we have a very educated society. Most things can succeed in better ways. So it's just always asking the question, is this right? And thinking about creative ideas as to how to do different things. And I think innovation, we're going to talk about really kind of thinking out of the box, is innovation. That means we're always striving to get a better solution to problems that are reoccurring. So I think that's kind of the success of my business, is through innovative thinking. And I fall all the time. I'll be like, hey, I think we should do this instead, and we try it, it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. You can, rejig, do it again, do it in a different way, innovate. So, yeah.
So, our 9th question is, what made you start the Waterloo Food Company?
So in Vietnamese culture, full of entrepreneurs. Even if you go to Vietnam, all the homes traditionally had their businesses on the base floor, so on the main floor, and people would come, and it could be everything from nail salons, it could be a jewelry store, it could be a food store, food stall, soup store, clothing store, doesn't matter. So a lot, I would say 90% of people traditionally own their own businesses, and they live upstairs. And so that's kind of just part of my DNA. It's ingrained from day one. My parents were tailors, so they actually had the tailor shop in the front, and we lived in the back. And so yeah, and that just kind of naturally occurred. I also watched my parents invest in property, and I really thought long and hard, whether that was the right direction for me. So being my own boss, having full control of my own destiny. Now that I've ran businesses, I know that it's not in my full control. Business is never in my control. But I love the grind, I love the engagement, I love that anytime I want to do something new, I don't have to ask someone to do it. I love that I can just try it. If it works, I keep going. If not, I rejig it. I love it. And you do have to have a specific kind of spirit to be an entrepreneur. It's not for the faint of heart. And my wife, completely different than I am. She is Monday to Friday, 9 to 5er, loves her time off, and loves her benefits, and I love it too. It's a really perfect kind of dichotomy. She gets to live her stable work life, and I get to be crazy in mine. We meet somewhere in the middle.
Our next question is, since you're originally from BC, we want to know, since living in Ontario, if you can tell us any similarities or differences you've seen or experienced in the food industry and their take on sustainability.
Yes, 100%. Vancouver, British Columbia, Port Moody, all those areas that I came from, not only were surrounded by agricultural land, but also the sea. And so the sea is, when we talk about it, Greenpeace was started in Vancouver. And again, it's because of that closeness, that proximity to the ocean. We are much more aware of sustainability under the sea, as well as above the sea. So talking about agricultural, biodiversity, supporting local. I would say Vancouver's anywhere, and as a whole. Again, this is a general statement, but Vancouver, BC in itself is probably about 5 to 10 years ahead of Ontario. And there's more willingness also to look at the whole picture. And, depending on governance, it's very important. Food is political, business is political, communities are all about politics, it's who's representing you. And so, British Columbia has an NDP government, but they are more about society as a whole. It's about making sure that the lowest have the same opportunities, same resources as you and I. We're kind of the middle class. And so Ontario, we're looking at a completely different government. Different standards, different outlook. Yeah. And so it's very important about the governments that we vote in as well. And so Ontario does have a lot of agricultural land. They are a growing hub. We have amazing produce, animal proteins. We have amazing freshwater, perch, pickerel, and all that stuff as well here. Trout, bass. So we do have a lot of seafood here as well, but it's not as prevalent in terms of sustainability when we talk about that. And Toronto has just more people, and with more people means more competition. More competition means people rise higher in skill level and services. And so Toronto does have amazing restaurants, as well as Vancouver.
Our 11th and final question is, what advice would you give to those looking to have a career similar to yours, or the same field?
So, if we're talking about food and hospitality, it is an amazing industry that requires a lot of thoughtful people, dedicated and committed committed people. But we are also seeing a little bit of a renaissance from where it used to be. Where it used to be was kind of like a blue collar, really grinded out industry, where governments and other important stakeholders are also now realizing the importance of a stable food economy, a stable economy that grows its own food, that services its own people. We're not talking about don't import lemons and limes or salt and whatever, but it is important that the industry sees that, and so the individuals who are coming up in the industry also are going to get a better education than I was offered. So, go through the education route. Make sure you go and do your culinary arts training. Train from chefs who you respect, you believe in, and are doing great things for our communities and for our food systems. But first and foremost, put your head down and work your ass off. Because really, it's not an easy occupation, but it is a wonderful occupation, and it has a lot of opportunities to grow from cook to sous chef, chef de cuisine, executive chef, owner. Sky's the limit. It is important to go from start from 1 to 10, knowing that it's going to take you a decade to get to the point where you feel like you're really a good chef or a cook. So yeah, work hard, put your head down, ask questions, push yourself. You're trying to be the best you can day to day. There's no such thing as perfection. There's a lot of things done well. That's it. You want to be a cook?
Thank you so much for this interview. I really did enjoy myself. I hope you
All right. Well, thank you very much, Danielle. And yeah, reach out anytime if you need anything else. And all the best to the program. Thank you. See you guys later.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of What Do You Bring to the Table, a project of Seeds of Diversity's Youth and Food Systems program. Thanks again to the Gay Lea Foundation, the Catherine Maxwell Meighen Foundation, and the Peterborough K.M. Charitable Foundation. And of course, thanks to you for listening. See you again soon.